Have you ever gone on a shoot where the conditions were less than ideal and the forecast predicted the exact opposite of what you wanted? Yeah, well, this was one of those shoots, but sometimes, just every now and then, you get lucky, and in spite of that gloomy forecast, you get light rays like these. Even his royal sourness had to crack a smile when he saw this scene unfold. A sight which is heartwarming and yet deeply unsettling. Yeah, I know you can barely believe it. We've come to yet another waterfall here on Vancouver Island. But this one's ever so slightly different because it's got this beautiful old stone bridge which looks kind of historic, and it's surrounded by these gorgeous trees and lovely spring foliage, which right now in May is super bright green, and I love that colour. Now, we did actually come here yesterday and we timed it perfectly in that we got a really good shot. About 6 p.m, the sun dropped down in the west there and just landed over the top of the bridge, and I got this beautiful shot with a nice sun star and lovely light painting these mossy walls here. But we were so late that we just didn't have time to do any vlogging. It was literally just show up and shoot and then leave. So today we've come about 3 hours earlier in the hopes that we get similar light or better light than we got yesterday, and we've prepped a little bit and now we're doing a bit of vlogging. So when the light kicks off, I'm going to take you through this shot that I got yesterday and hopefully try and execute it today a little bit earlier and get a little bit better light than I got yesterday. And literally seconds after I just said that, a cloud must have cleared, the sun has popped through, and now I've got these beautiful light rays that are hitting the spray that's coming off the water, and I've got this amazing, magical, heavenly light ray blast just in the top of the frame. Absolutely stunning. So yeah, we timed it well. This light is just unbelievable right now. It's just getting better and better. But because I'm shooting almost directly into the sun, what I'm having to do is use my hand just above the lip of the lens hood there to block out some of that. I'm getting these sunspots, these flares that aren't that pleasing. And yeah, that's way better. Oh, unbelievable. Yeah, so I'm doing these deliberately overexposed, slightly longer exposure shots because I find that when the light hits the spray, it's not uniform. It kind of catches the light for a split second and then it's gone. And by having a slightly longer exposure, you have more chance of catching that moment where the light is hitting the spray a few times during that exposure, and that gives you a stronger beam. That is very juicy indeed. Not bad at all, considering we'd only just shown up and got this shot within minutes, and you can tell by the angle of the light rays that the sun was directly overhead, so I knew that the light would only get better as the day wore on and the angle of the sun got lower with warmer tones. Just look at that texture and detail in the water. I don't usually like spotty sunlight in my mossy waterfall scenes, but this place is one of those rare locations where the super bright sunlight creates these rich dynamics with lots of pleasing contrast. Now, while I like this composition, I knew that this was the first one of the day, and as I gradually work the scene, I often use longer focal lengths so that I can fill the frame with what catches my eye the most, and with this scene, it's definitely those rays of light. So much juicenicity.
Oh, this is just unbelievable. I can't stop shooting. I know that I'm supposed to be vlogging and talking to you, but I can't. The light is just kicking off and I'm getting beautiful, very juicy shots. Oh my god! So the light is it's doing such things now that it's illuminating these white strands of water from the back. It's kind of backlit and it makes it glow, and all of these little particles and bubbles that jet up into the air really catch that light in a very pleasing way. The other thing that I've noticed as well is that the pool in the distance has a nice green glow to it, and that's where that bounce light that I was talking about earlier comes from. It's hitting that pool and then bouncing on the other side of the bridge. A cloud just came over, it's gone now, but I'm gonna switch to the camera view and talk you through exactly what I'm doing with this shot. Hopefully that cloud will disappear and we'll get that same light again. Okay, so here's what's got me all excited about this shot. I mean, if you look in the distance, we've got this moss and this greenery. There's a rock there with some moss on it that's glowing. It's absolutely fantastic. And look at this bounce light that I'm talking about. You can see it on the underside of the bridge. It's also backlighting this moss very pleasingly. And these little bits of, I think they're grass, and then the sun is blasting in from the side and illuminating all of this moss here. So it's like, there's so much going on in terms of what the light is doing and the directions of the light. And like I just said, if you look at the strands of water there, hopefully this shows up on the video, I don't know if it will, but that backlight that's hitting the water makes it really glow. It's kind of textured, and again we're getting particles. I can even see backlit in this branch here. I can even see spiders' webs. It's absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I'm gonna have to stop talking because I need to switch back to shooting mode. The light is kicking off. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I did get something of a photo boner just there. Hopefully you can see this on this little thing, but the light rays that are blasting in right now, it's tremendous, it's juicy, it's epic, it's everything I ever wanted. Oh God! I hope you're getting some good shots, mate, because I am getting juice factor 11 right now. But the problem is, I can't vlog and shoot this at the same time, and this light is so good that I just can't miss it. I can't miss these shots. So I apologize if I'm being a little bit spotty with the vlogging, if I'm neglecting you a little bit, but this is just too good to pass up. Okay, I'll run through this real quick. As you can see, these tree limbs are lovely, beautifully backlit, and of course we've got this spray that's coming up and the light is hitting it. Like if I block the light, you'll see that's where it is right now. It's backlighting everything. I've got this bounce light under the bridge, I've got backlight on these branches, I've got light rays, and it's lighting this water absolutely majestically. With a shot like this, you can't go wrong. You just got to show up, get the right settings and take the shot and keep on shooting. That is juice factor 11.
This second shot of the day might actually be my favourite. As I mentioned earlier, I always tend to work further into a scene with tighter focal lengths to really feature my favourite aspects of a scene, and in this case I love the balance between the bridge, the light rays and the waterfall. And again, I wanted to capture a lot of texture in the water with only a little bit of motion blur, and it turned out that half a second was the ideal shutter speed, which is a little bit longer than I actually would have expected. What you're looking at here is actually a single exposure, and surprisingly I managed to get all of the dynamic range that I needed out of this single raw file, which did surprise me because of how contrasty the light was, but it turned out to be an easy image to process. And if you compare this image to the first shot of the day, you'll definitely notice that this one has a much warmer tone to the light, simply because the sun dropped lower in the sky as it reached towards golden hour, which I guess we call it golden hour for a good reason.
Okay, I've been hogging this spot from Uncle Grumpy for the last hour, so I think it's time to let him get in, now that the light's total crap. I'm only joking, it's pretty brilliant. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll give it 20 minutes. As I mature as an artist, and I use the term mature very liberally there, I tend to find, and you've seen this in my other videos I'm sure, I tend to find that I look more for abstract details rather than a big scene like the scene that I've been shooting for the last hour or so. I tend to shoot the big scene first, and then when I feel a bit more relaxed and more familiar with the scene, then I'll spot these smaller details, and this is a really interesting detail that I've got here right now. So what it is that fascinates me about this shot is as an abstract scene where you take this away from its background, I just love these tendrils of water, and it's all about the way that the light is hitting that from the side right now. It's a very pleasing look to it. If it was overcast and I didn't have that kind of light, I probably wouldn't go for this shot at all. But I love how these little bits of, I don't know, I'm going to call that moss, but I'm pretty sure it isn't moss. This lovely bit of green moss or whatever it is there is stationary, and the water is just passing through. It's like frozen in time and torrent of raging motion, and the two together, it's just a beautiful, simple, pure shot. And like I said, this is as I get older and as I do more photography, this tends to be what I look more for. I think I'm turning into Uncle Grumpy. I've been hanging around with him way too long. Take another shot.
Sometimes it's nice to capture subtle images instead of huge impressive vistas, and I also think it's a good thing to have artistic goals in your landscape and nature photography, and that's why I always challenge myself to look for these intimate detail shots. Oh, I could just see that printed 4 foot wide and hanging on your mantelpiece. Very taste delicious. As landscape photographers, we don't always get successful days like this, especially with a new location that you're still getting familiar with, but I was rather ecstatic about this old stone bridge because I could also see the potential for beautiful autumn images, and if we get lucky next winter, a frozen waterfall scene, which you know I love. Witness the polished aviation skills of Grumpton Airways and be sure to check out Adam's channel to see that clip.
So I've had this brilliant idea for making money with photography. What we do is we make these really awful musical jingles, right? And they're so bad that brands that we use will pay us money not to do it anymore.
Brilliant!
We'll be rich. Well, when we drove out here earlier today, we really didn't have much hope for this kind of light. It was quite cloudy. In fact, we were almost certain it was going to rain. And had we known that it was going to be like this, we would have been ecstatic. We came here kind of almost with heavy hearts and very low expectations. And this has turned out to be better than I would imagine. We've had light rays, we've had backlight, we've had all kinds of gorgeous dynamics, and the colours, this beautiful green is fantastic. The water level, I would say, is perfect, and we've just got shot after shot after shot. And I think what my plan now is to stay put pretty close to this spot and try and recreate that shot that I got yesterday with the Sunstars. It sets in the west, and perhaps just compose it a little bit tighter than I did yesterday and see if I can refine the position of the camera just that little bit and get a slightly better shot. But this light is absolutely dynamite. I'm very, very happy. Right, I'm going to talk you through this composition. So, what I love about this, now you're going to have to pretend that you can't see this tripod and camera in the shot. I'm shooting you, shooting me, shooting you, shooting me, shooting you. But if you pretend that that's gone, what I'm loving about this shot, so obviously the light is fabulous right now, but I love in the composition. What I'm looking at is this. I love this tree that's leaning in from the left, creating a nice frame, and of course the top of the shot is framed by the arch, which is lovely. And then you've got the water that runs into the center of the frame and then runs out. But I feel like it's not unbalanced because I love these rocks that you see in the foreground with these gorgeous ferns peppered all over the place. Now, I would probably, this is a 16 by 9, and usually I compose 3 by 2s. But in this case, I actually prefer this 16 by 9, so I might go with that, but I might actually crop it even tighter to a 4 by 2 and just chop off some of this foreground so that it's a kind of a narrow shot going across like that, almost like a pano. And then what I'm going to do with the processing, and I think this is a good thing, whenever you're shooting, you want to kind of imagine, how am I going to process this? And then depending on how you decide you're going to process it, that'll kind of govern how you shoot it. But what I think I'm going to do is bring some of this area here is kind of dark, so I'm going to bring that out when I process it, brighten it up so that it balances out with this side of the frame and also with the top of the frame. But the light is so golden yellow now, it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to have to stop shooting this vlog now and crack on and shoot some stills. So excited.
So, how'd the shoot go today?
Oh, I got some juicelicious shots, beauty shots, and I just love springtime here on Vancouver Island.
Me too. I just love the vibrant greens this time of year. You know what, you should have come to that workshop that I taught in Port Renfrew the other day.
Well, Well, maybe I would have done if you'd have invited me.
Oh, well, why don't you help me teach it next year?
What, teach it with you next year?
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
that's brilliant.
How many people?
10?
10 people?
Yeah.
What kind of locations are you going to shoot?
Well, we've got Sombrio Beach, got a beautiful waterfall, and there's some big trees there. And then we've got Mystic Beach, another waterfall with a cave.
Yeah.
And then there's Botanical Beach,
Yeah.
tide pools,
Oh, that's my favourite. What about some gnarly cedar trees?
Avatar Grove. There's some beautiful western red cedar there, gnarly.
Ooh, I'm all over that shit. Accommodations included.
Included.
What about meals?
Meals are all included.
Well, this sounds brilliant, Matt. If I wasn't teaching this, I'd sign up for this.
I would too.
So this is available for just 10 people only. So if you want to get on this workshop, jump on it.
Hope to see you there.
Okay, so what we're doing now is we're shooting that classic Sunstar shot, which I don't really do much of that these days, but with a shot like this, I just couldn't resist. What I'm doing is I'm changing my aperture to f16 or f22 to give a better star, and then I'm going to blend that with the other exposures, which are shot at f8 and f11 for maximum sharpness, and that should give me the ultimate shot. Except this DJI Osmo is in my shot in the bottom corner, so time for you to go. Right, my top tip when you're shooting a Sunstar and you've got your shot, but it's moved and your star has disappeared, but you know that the sun is there, you've just got to move your position. Is often it'll work this way, where you just raise your camera a bit. Oh, and that works. There you go. Let me tighten up the aperture to f16, crank the exposure, and now I've got a few more minutes of Sunstar available to me that I didn't have before, just by raising the tripod up. And then, you know, once you've tried that and that still doesn't work, try moving back, move to the side. Usually you can adjust your position and get a little bit more time out of it if you didn't quite get it perfect the first time round.
Ooh, the cheeky sauce pot. Just goes to show you can never take your eyes off Dr. Grumpenstein. So here is the Sunstar shot as the sun went down over the bridge. And this is a blend of two shots, one at f16 to give me a very detailed Sunstar, and another shot at f8 to give me maximum sharpness throughout the scene. And what I'm loving the most is the golden quality of that light. I would have loved to have gotten some light rays, but by the time the sun dropped to this position, it was barely poking through the leafy canopy, so its brightness was somewhat diminished. But all in all, we'd had a fantastic shoot with some great shots, and now it was time to be on our way so that we could start packing for our trip to Scotland.
Here we have a perfect specimen of Uncolaceous Grumpus maximus. It must not be startled, otherwise its pants may be shat. Do not surprise an Uncolaceous Grumpus maximus, because they have a tendency to eat a lot of boiled eggs, and this makes them very gassy and very fragrant, and they release their gases only in confined spaces, usually vehicles. Oh, he's moving further into the scene. Always a sign that there's potentially a decent shot. As usual, when you ask the Uncolaceous Grumpus maximus, did you get a good shot? The answer is usually a sour face, which you can see in evidence right now. Okay, and it's so nice to finally have spring. Oh God! Now, it's always wise never to get too close, because he does have a passion for boiled eggs, which make him extremely flatulent, often in very confined space. Now, you'd never want to startle an Uncolaceous Grumpus maximus, because they do have a passion for boiled eggs, and the fragrance that is emitted from those boiled eggs, often within confined spaces, such as a vehicle,